Hello and welcome to episode 42 of FPL Journey to 10K, the podcasting series in which we speak to one of the greatest players that has ever played the game, my friend Mr. Matthew Corbridge. In his 8 years playing the game, he has finished in the top 10K 6 times and is a former world number one. Now, for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll probably notice a few things. Number one, Matt unfortunately can't be with us today. He's having some Wi-Fi issues over the last couple of days, meaning he can't get online. But he will be back with us next week for an overall season review. Second thing you may notice, I've had a few beers. So if this isn't the best episode you've ever seen, then that is probably part of the reason why. But I'll do my best. I promise I'll do my best to go through all of our thoughts. I do have Matt's input as well, just delivered by me. So yeah, hopefully you'll still pick something from us. As I say, Matt will be back with us next week for an overall review, see where we're finished. But I can look to see where we both are currently in the season. Now, this is our game week 37, letting you know where we are roughly. Now, this is before the games played on Wednesday, the 15th of May. So just after the City and Spurs game on Tuesday, the 14th. I'll start with Matt. Again, don't want to speak for Matt so much, but nice green arrow for Matt was at 172,000, now up to 148,000. 541,000 in terms of his overall rank come Tuesday after the points have been added. 107 overall, no hits, so 107 was the net score. And the players that probably jumped out for him, good captain pick, 15 points for Haaland, double 230. Van der Ven, probably one of the players he's got there that most players don't have, getting 12 points thanks to his goal against Burnley at the weekend. And then Son, not Son, Son's been terrible. Gordon, should I say, has got a goal tonight for Matt as well. So hopefully do some decent things for his rank there as well. Edison getting 13 points. I think Matt is a little bit not upset, unhappy. I don't know whether that's the word either. That there was that chat we spoke about last week, which is where he was thinking maybe he gets rid of Edison, brings in another keeper, which should allow him to make a move for Gvardiol. Didn't end up doing it. Ended up rolling the transfer, giving him 2 into game week 38, and I'll come on to his plans with that a little bit later on. But yeah, Gvardiol obviously has absolutely smashed it in especially in game week 1. Not only did he keep 2 clean sheets, but in game week 1 he also scored twice, so he has got an overall points total this week of 27 points. Absolutely outstanding for a defender. So Matt does feel a little bit let down there. It was a decision he was toying with, but decided to carry the transfer. But Edison was his other option. Still got 13 points. Very solid return for a goalkeeper, 2 clean sheets and a bonus point in game week 2, in the second game, should I say, of the game week as well. But yeah, bench boost played, green arrow, increasing where he is, based on the fact that Matt has never finished outside the top 25k, not been his best season. Anybody that's been following from the start will appreciate that. But yeah, in the top 150k, pushing hopefully touch wood for the top 100k. And yeah, so some of the results tonight have gone in his favour. Gordon goal, Palmer scored as well, so some goal scorers in his team. For myself, I have 117 points. I did take a -8, so 109 is the net total there. Gvardiol I did have, so probably the biggest standout in my team. Bought him in a couple of weeks ago. He got a goal or an assist. He got an assist in the first game we had and won a penalty that Haaland put away. And then this week, 27 points over 2 games. Absolutely unbelievable. Helping my rank tremendously. Again, Haaland with his double, 30 points as a captain. Jackson's got a goal. Appreciate he hasn't done so much tonight. Foden with a goal. But just to run through, so I did do transfer. I did 3 transfers. Just to run through them, I took a -8 with regards to hits. I got rid of Solanke, who got a 6. I got rid of Eze, who got an 8. And I got rid of Saka, who got a 2. The people I got in were Jackson, currently on 5 prior to today's game, Gordon on 2 prior to today's game, and Foden on 11. Now, I bring that up because overall, taking into account the points that the teams did get and the players I bought in prior to today's game, I was 6 points down on those transfers. But I did have Jackson to play Brighton and Gordon to play Man United. Now, I know Gordon scored, so I hopefully, touch wood, should be up on those transfers. So, yeah, can't complain. Jackson got a return, Gordon's got a return, Foden got a return in those transfers that I made. And it's helped to defend my position. So again, green arrow for me too, going from 93,000 up to 79k. Didn't really realize until probably yesterday that if I do carry on and finish in the top 100k, this will only be, well, this will be the first time ever, in fact, that I'll have finished in the top 100k in back-to-back seasons. Finished about 43k last season, so 80k-ish or 79k where I am prior to today's games. Yeah, like it doesn't feels fine. It doesn't feel like a bad result. Doesn't feel like a great result either. But when I think about it, it'll only be touch wood. Again, if I continue and finish on the top 100k, it'll be the first time ever I've done that in back-to-back seasons. It'll hopefully show that Matt's advice is really helping me. Um, so yeah, we'll see what comes of that. But rarely plays member selling the game week players. I had Raya clean sheet, ended up on 5, did take a booking, but 5 points regardless. Gabriel clean sheet and a bonus point, taken 7. And then Brian Brantwaite, what an absolute gem he has been for me. And I'll talk next week with Matt about some of our best transfers in. Brantwaite is probably top of my pile since getting him in. He has been absolutely outstanding. Another clean sheet for him. This game week, a single game week player, but a 6 points return, which is more than somebody like Son, for example, that had a double game week, and somebody like Bruno Fernandes, again, he might score today, but he hasn't at the minute, and there's only maybe 10 games left in that game or something. But again, a better return than some of the double game week players that a lot of players have. So, yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. But going into today's games at just under 80,000, can't complain. Um, for the rest of this episode, I really wanted to look at the game week 38, right? So there's one game week left. Is it a time to maybe take a punt if you're chasing in your leagues? Is it time to play safe if you're leading your leagues? Probably yes to both. So I just wanted to have a quick look at the fixture ticker. It's pretty obvious when you look at both this defensive one that I've got in front of you. So just for those that are listening rather than watching, from a fixture ticker point of view, you're the best team to target defensively. Arsenal at the top, best defense in the league, doesn't surprise me at all. Followed by Liverpool, who are home to Wolves. Spurs away at Sheffield United. Burnley and Luton, which I'll be honest, I don't see people jumping on. You then have Chelsea at home to Bournemouth. Forest, again, don't see people jumping on them. And then Man City at home to West Ham. From an attacking point of view, Spurs are top, then City, Liverpool 5th, Chelsea 6th. I think from a teams to target point of view, it kind of screams, doesn't it? You know, the players to attack. Spurs, especially the attacking players of Spurs, against Sheffield United. City play for the league. A win wins them the league. They're also a home to West Ham, who have been absolutely horrendous from a defensive point of view over the last few weeks. So you'd probably expect City to score a few goals there. Liverpool, again, from an attacking point of view, they don't really keep clean sheets, Liverpool, recently. As we saw against Villa, the 3-1 up, 5 minutes to go in the game, finished 3-3. They do like to concede, but their attack, they do score. And it is Klopp's last game for the club at home to Wolves. So you'd like to think they put on a little bit of a show. So again, Liverpool attack worth looking at. And then Arsenal and Chelsea as well at home to Everton. Decent side, nothing to play for, very safe. I don't see Everton putting up a great deal of fight in that game. They've achieved what they needed to achieve this season, considering a -8 point deduction over the season. And Arsenal need to win to have any chance of winning the league. So I see them putting on a show. And then Chelsea also playing for Europe. Looked like they were 2-0 up last look today. So looking on course, a win will guarantee them European football next season. And Bournemouth have got nothing left to play for as well. So I'd expect them to get some returns there. So yeah, I think I'd be looking at Spurs attack, City all round. They're keeping clean sheets as well. Liverpool attack, Arsenal all round as well. And then the Chelsea attack. Although Chelsea are keeping the clean sheets, and Gusto got an assist, I believe. So he is looking pretty solid all around as well. What I wanted to do is look at game week 38. It's a standalone game week. I wanted to look at maybe punts you can take. I broke it down in terms of position, who the best 5 players are in terms of predicted points, but then also got a few other notes just to talk you through rather than just working off the 5 that we've been given. I think there's maybe some options that are there that maybe not in the top 5 points predictions based on these stats that have come from Fix. Now, fair play to Fix. They've got a 90% return in terms of what they're predicted in terms of overall points and what the players actually achieved. So their predictions have been fantastic. Some of the best out there, if not the best out there. But the 90%, still 10% there that hasn't returned. So there's a couple of points that I'd like to bring up. Looking at the keepers, I think Raya is number 1. He is top of the list. But he's the second highest goalkeeper in the game with regards to return and points. Arsenal have by far the best defence in the league, seem to be keeping clean sheets for fun again. And yeah, I think if you've got the money to bring Raya in, you don't have him yet, you're looking to make a trade for your goalkeeper, he is the one. He's £0.5 million cheaper than the person who was predicted to get the second most, which is Alisson Becker. Liverpool are conceding. So I think out of the two, you've got to go for Raya. Yeah, Liverpool have conceded over 20 times first in a game, let alone just how many games they've conceded in. It is their defence just leaks goals, whereas Arsenal is solid. It's the reason that they're fighting for the league. Their attack's been great, don't get me wrong. Their goal difference is phenomenal, but their defence is far superior to any other defence in the league. And that includes Man City's. Edison's 4th on the table, 5.5 million. Again, more expensive than Raya. I just think if you've got the money, you're looking to make a goalkeeper sub, Raya is the obvious. If you're looking away from Raya and you're thinking, I can't quite get to the 5.2 million, where is there else to look there? I think Leno's worth a pick. Leno, Fulham is obviously the team he plays for. He's 4.8 million, so he's 0.4 million pound cheaper. But in 3 of his last 5 away games, and this week they're away to Luton. But in 3 of his last 5 game weeks, they have an expected goals conceded of less than 1. So against the Luton side, who are relegated, they've rarely got any. Mathematically, they're not relegated, but they've got a goal difference of something like 12 after overturn. So they're probably relegated. And a team that aren't making chances anymore. They were looking pretty solid. Probably late winter, early spring, they were making chances. There was that game that they scored 4 against Newcastle. There was a lot going on there. But of late, they don't seem to be doing it. So I think Leno, if you can't quite stretch to Raya, you're looking for a keeper. I think Leno's a really solid shout. So yeah, that's where I'd look beyond the 5 that you've got there. Looking at your defence, great to see Alexander-Arnold top of the list. He is back and he is picking up assists. He's picking up returns. He's got a goal in him as well from free kicks. But yeah, 8.4 million is very expensive. Yeah, it's look at the 5 players that you've got there. 2 from Liverpool, 3 from Arsenal. I think it's pretty obvious that if you are going to pick a defender and you have the money, bearing in mind that the cheapest of those defenders are 5.4 million in Gabriel, you go for an Arsenal player who are home to Everton, or you go for a Liverpool player who are at home to Wolves. But there are some options out there. Cucurella, for example. Chelsea are home to Bournemouth. Cucurella is 4.9 million. I'm just going to double check. I'm pretty sure he has a goal this evening, if I'm not mistaken. Not a goal, an assist, should I say? No, looks like yeah, he does. He has an assist. So he seems to have some attacking returns in him, which is worth having a look at. So I would consider him as an option. Just looking at the rest of the goals, this is phenomenal. Annoyingly, Petrovic has conceded very late on, which is a shame for people like me who have him in goal. But yeah, I'm digressing. So I think people like Cucurella could be a really good shout. 4.9 million. He is a home to Bournemouth. As I say, Bournemouth have got nothing to play for. And Brighton's probably not a bad pick either. Brighton are a home to Man United. Again, United, they did win tonight, which gives them something to play for. But me and Matt were speaking a couple of weeks ago. Brighton's defence isn't actually all that bad. Not too long ago, they were technically data-wise the fourth best defence in the league. United away from home don't seem to score that many. They seem a lot better at Old Trafford. So getting somebody in like Igor, 4.3 million. Veltman, if you fancy getting a Veltman. Veltman doesn't seem to be starting as much as Igor. But again, less than 4.5 million. If you're looking for a cheap option in, Brighton aren't the worst. I'd probably go Cucurella first. He seems to be getting more of an assured start. You can maybe now bank on Gusto because Reece James has been sent off in today's game as well. So maybe even Gusto's more of a solid pick, and he'll be far cheaper than Cucurella, probably less than 4.5 million as well. So yeah, Chelsea options that are there beyond the Liverpool and Arsenal, and a much cheaper option as well. Probably isn't the worst pick. Moving on, midfield, a lot more activity going on here. Spoke already, the obvious picks seem to be Arsenal are home to Everton, Liverpool are home to Wolves, City are home to West Ham, Spurs away at Sheffield United, Chelsea are home to Bournemouth, which means it's no surprise to see Salah, Palmer, Son, Saka, and De Bruyne leading the way on expected points. I mean, if you don't have Palmer, I don't know what you're doing. £6.3 million, might be 6.4 now. We might have gone up since I put this table on, but so cheap, so effective. Scored another goal today in Chelsea's win away at Brighton. He's absolutely phenomenal. Captain option potentially, which we'll come on to. So if you haven't got him, get him because at home to Bournemouth, he could quite easily score 2, 3, 4. We've seen him score multiple goals, especially at home this season. If you aren't looking at Palmer or you've already got Palmer and you're thinking, well, the rest of those on that list, Saka's the cheapest, 8.9 million. That's still quite an expensive pick. Well, there are other options there. Even at Arsenal. So Havertz playing for Arsenal seems to be playing in the number 9. He has 7.5 million, so he's 1.4 million pounds less than Saka. Over the last sort of 6-7 game weeks, Saka's expected points from an FPL perspective is 49.95. Havertz, 48.74. Now, bear in mind that Saka has penalties. Havertz doesn't. So, in terms of open play or the standard game away from those penalties and free kicks, Havertz is actually in a better expected return from an FPL perspective than Saka, and he's £1.4 million cheaper. I think he's a really good pick, and I'll come on to what I'm going to do, but he is very much somebody that is on my radar. Somebody else that I've spoke about in the last couple of weeks, especially if you can't even get to 7.5, you look for somebody even cheaper than that. Johnson, Sheffield United. Sorry, he's against Sheffield United. He plays for Tottenham. Brennan Johnson, 5.8 million. Now, to compare him to other Tottenham players, Son's on this list, right? In terms of expected points, 6.5. Son, over the last couple of game weeks, or the last 6 or 7 game weeks, has an expected points return of 25.48. He has £10 million to buy. Johnson, 5.8 million. Far cheaper, £4.2 million cheaper. Expected points of 26.51, so higher than Son. And with Richarlison out, it looks likely that he's going to continue to get a start. He's 5.8 million. I think he is another really good 1 week punt for players that may be chasing in their league. So yeah, midfield wise, I'd be looking at Havertz, I'd be looking at Johnson. I've seen a lot of talk about Trossard. And I do like Trossard. I think he will start. He seems to be getting that place ahead of Martinelli. The downside to Trossard is he has only played over 80 minutes once, I believe. He's always the early sub, whereas somebody like Havertz could quite easily play the 90 minutes, especially if Arsenal aren't leading and they need to obviously win that game to have any chance of winning the league. So I just feel like Havertz is probably the better pick out of the two. But yeah, that's where we're at. Forward picks. So Haaland, again, top of the list. He's the obvious. He's miles ahead, by the way. He has an expected points return of 8 at home to West Ham. Second on the list, or joint second, Jackson Wood, Watkins and Isaac, 4.7. So it seems obvious the picks are probably, and a lot of people have this already, built for around game week 37. Haaland, Jackson, Isaac. And they're decent picks. Haaland's at home to West Ham, Jackson's at home to Bournemouth, Isaac is away at Brentford, and they are 1, 2, and 5 in the expected points data. But again, Jackson's 7 million. It's not that expensive. But if you want to go for somebody with a bit of a differential, I mean, Mateta looks as good as anybody, right? Villa are a good side. They've just won Champions League qualification for the first time in over 30 years, I want to say. But they're away. They're not as good away as they are at home. The results prove that. Crystal Palace have won 5 in the last 7. They are absolutely flying, and Mateta is at the head of that strike force. He has 7 goals in 7 games. He has £5 million, and he is a home to a team that now have absolutely nothing to play for. They've already had their end of season awards, Villa. Like, they're on the beach. If you've had your end of season awards, you are on the beach. So I can see Crystal Palace getting a few goals in that game. 7 in 7 for Mateta, 5 million. If you really want to go differential, Liverpool are at home to Wolves. Gakpo has played the last few games and he's got goals. In his last 6 game weeks, he's seems to have been getting the start ahead of Nunes. He scored at the weekend against Villa. He's getting other goals in there. I bring it up because I know I'm going to come on to Matt's team shortly, but Matt is considering Darwin Nunes. Now, Gakpo does seem to get the more minutes over the last 6 game weeks than Darwin Nunes. But I suppose the reason Darwin Nunes is coming on Matt's agenda is despite playing 46 minutes less over the last 6 game weeks, Darwin Nunes has played 46 minutes less than Gakpo. He has over double the expected goal data. If I'm honest and I'm looking at the forwards, I'd stay away from Liverpool. I wouldn't get Gakpo. I wouldn't get Nunes. Number one, don't know who's going to play. Number two, even if they do play, if you gamble on a Gakpo and he gets a game, is he more likely to score than Haaland against West Ham, Jackson at home to Bournemouth, Isaac away at Brentford even? I don't think it's worth it. I think they're the obvious picks. 7.1 million for Gakpo, 7.5 million for Darwin. Jackson's cheaper than them both. I think Jackson at home to Bournemouth's the better pick. If you really want to go cheap, I think Mateta's better than them both. He is guaranteed to start, guaranteed to play, and as I say, 7 goals in 7 games. So if you want to push on Liverpool at home to Wolves, I'd go Salah if you can get there. If you can't get to Salah, I just wouldn't get Liverpool. I really wouldn't. They've got nothing to play for. They finished in third, like regardless of result. And Wolves aren't a bad side. So yeah, that is my pick on Liverpool. And as a Liverpool fan, that hurts me to say, but there you go. That is my pick on Liverpool. Don't get them in as FPL assets. Coming on to your captaincy option, game week 28, game week 38, the last one of the game week. Haaland top of the list, as we have seen so many times this season. Salah in second, again, we've also seen so many times. And then Palmer in third. I think the expected data has finally caught up over the last few weeks and seen Palmer as Chelsea's main player. As always, I've broke it down looking at the player in terms of where they're playing, whether that be home and away, their expected goal involvement data at home and away, and then the power or the ability of their opposition, again, whether they are home and away. And I think your main picks for this season, or this week, should I say, are going to be playing at City at home, Liverpool at home, Chelsea at home, Arsenal at home. So yeah, top of the list is Haaland. His expected goal involvement data this season at the Etihad is a 1.14. So over 1 expected goal involvement per game, which is absolutely phenomenal. He is a home to West Ham, who in recent games, so again, we're talking the last 6 or 7 away games, have expected goals conceded data of 2.2. I mean, that's screaming Haaland returns, right? I think it's screaming Haaland returns anyway. I just actually want to take a drink of my tea, going a little bit lukewarm, so I'll have a little bit more of that as we continue. But yeah, I mean that Haaland seems a perfect captain for that reason. Salah, expected goal involvement at home, 1.04. Again, over the season, that is exceptional. Anything over one is absolutely outstanding. He is at home to Wolves. Now, Wolves away have expected goal involved, conceded data, should I say, of 1.87. As a result, Haaland's expected goal involvement data is higher. West Ham's expected goals conceded data is higher than Wolves. So, yeah, why would you go Salah over Haaland? That doesn't make any sense. The data backs Haaland on both points. And when it does get interesting is when you get to Parma. Now, Bournemouth away in the last few fixtures have expected goals conceded data of 1.9. So, yes, that is lower than West Ham's 2.2. But Palmer is Chelsea's main man. And now I'm not saying Haaland isn't City's main man, but there's less reliance on him because you've got Foden, you've got De Bruyne, City's squad is so much superior to Chelsea's. Chelsea's it's Palmer. That he is the man. Now Palmer has expected goal involvement data of 1.5 when he is playing at home. That is phenomenal. Haaland's 1.14 is outstanding. 1.5 is scary numbers. So Palmer is expected to be involved in more goals at home than Haaland is at home. And Palmer's a midfielder, so he gets an extra points for a goal. He gets clean sheet points, things that Haaland doesn't get. So I think Palmer's a really good shout. Now, Saka's on the list. I'd also consider Havertz as a differential. But Everton's defence now it is better, and I've spoken about it before when I was talking through my team about Branthwaite and the power that he's brought to the table. Now Branthwaite, Everton's expected goal involvement, Everton's expected goals conceded away from home recently is 2.04. That's poor. That is very poor. It's in terms of the list that we're looking at here. It's the second worst behind West Ham at 2.2. But I wouldn't back Saka or Havertz despite that, because at home they're expecting golden ball data. Havertz 0.75 and Saka 0.92. So again, Haaland's is higher, and the defence that he's playing is worse than the Everton defence. So you're going to Havertz over both. So for me, you're looking at Haaland and Palmer. If you're not chasing a league, just play simple. Haaland, you know, they're looking to win the league. They're probably going to win the league. I imagine Haaland's going to be involved in the goals. If you are chasing, Palmer's a nice differential. Again, he has expected goal involvement data better than that of Haaland when playing at home. And Bournemouth's defence have expected goals conceded away from home of 1.9, which isn't that much less than the 2.2 of West Ham. So I can see the benefit. Both are on pens as well, so you haven't got to deal too much with that. So yeah, if you're chasing Palmer, if you're not chasing, play safe, play simple, back Haaland. The part of this that I didn't really want to do. So I put this in, or this Matt versus Dave table up prior to today's games, and we're about to look at it live because I've got a feeling that I have probably lost. So Conor Gallagher did start the game, didn't look to get any returns at all, which is a real shame for me. Because yeah, I had him as one of my picks. So yeah, a bit of a shame that he didn't come to the front. Whereas Matt picked Richarlison. I'm just saying if Callum Wilson got a game, and it doesn't look as though he was on the bench. So yeah, this is going to be very depressing for me. Matt versus Dave. Prior to today's games, it was in Matt's hands. Matt was 15-13 in the lead. And I'm pretty sure that has probably gone to 16-13. So after yesterday's games, in terms of Tuesday, the City Tottenham game, Matt had Gross on 2. I had Gallagher on 1. We both picked a player that hasn't played at all this game week. Richarlison, 0 points for Matt. Wilson, 0 points for me. So yeah, it feels fair in a way because then none of us have benefited from injuries. But it also feels terrible for me because if I look at Gross over this game week, played in the double, he got 2 points in both games. So he has ended up on 4. Gallagher, on the other hand, so just bringing up Gallagher's points, he got booked in game week 1, leaving him on 1 point. and then he has ended up on 2 points today because he went off after Chelsea conceded to Brighton, meaning he ended up on 3, which means despite the fact we have picked double game week players, Matt has won this game week 4 points to 3, taking him to 16-13 in the lead, and which is unassailable, which means I will be captaining a defender in game week 1 of next season. Matt isn't with us, so we can't pick for game week 38, but it's pointless anyway because I can't catch him. If anybody was interested, I was probably going to pick Johnson for my first pick. 13 returns in 14 starts this season. He's away at Sheffield United. He's owned by 1.8%, so I'd have probably gone there. Elise's on the list, 6 in 5. Villa like to concede goals. They've got nothing to play for. He's at home. Palace are absolutely flying, so Elise would have been on the list. And then I'd probably consider Andy Robertson, 4.6% owned, so qualifies, 2 goals in 2 games. Liverpool's last game at home under Klopp. So yeah, he'd have probably been on the radar as well. But yeah, we're not playing because I've lost already, and Matt's not here to pick his players. So we'll give me the win regardless. So that means it ends 16-14 to Matt. So look forward to seeing who I pick as a defender when we kick off next season. On to game week 38 picks. I'll start with Matt. 1 second. I'll just finish off the tea before it goes too cold. 32 minutes this has been out, looking at the clock. So, yeah, I've definitely got to finish it because otherwise it will be freezing by the time I get around to it. For any Rick and Morty fans, just enjoy the cup. I'm assuming you know Mr. Meeseeks. Not a bad cup. Thank you, Richard, if you're listening. My one of my really good friends, my best friend who bought me this for my birthday. Still using it. Proofs in the pudding, pal. Proofs in the pudding. But yes, looking at Matt's team. Game week 38, he has 2 free transfers. It's injury dependent for Matt. So he has a few people in the team there. He was worried about Isaac being injured. Well, he started tonight, so it looks as though he's going to be fine. He was worried about Bruno Fernandes being injured. Again, he started tonight. I think he got an assist. So 5 points return for Bruno minimum, which is good because I own him as well. So that's why it's good. But he's worried about him again. He started tonight, so the chances are he's not a bad player to you don't have to worry about that injury. But because of that, Matt's with 2 free transfers. It's game week 38, so there's no other transfers to be made after this game week, so he will use all 2. Matt is basically saying to me that he sees Bruno out for a Salah if he can use the second free transfer to get the budget together, or a Bruno for a Saka or Havertz if he can't. Seems like a no-brainer. Away at Brighton are a decent side. We spoke before, again, me and Matt, about Brighton's defence not being, being one of the better ones in the table, definitely in the top sort of 6. So he is talking about that. So to get rid of Bruno makes sense and bring in a player like a Saka or a Havertz that are playing for the league, or a Salah who is playing for his manager, who has looked after him for the last 6-7 years, and it's his last home game. So there's just more to play for from those three players. So I'd expect Matt to do one of them, right? Bruno out, and then a Salah, Saka, Havertz in. Realistically, probably a Saka or a Havertz, but he may well as well take out Isaac and bring in a Mateta. If he does that, he gets the budget. He could well turn a Bruno into a Salah. I think he'll still be a bit shy, to be honest. And I don't think a points hit in game week 38 makes a lot of sense from that. So the chances are it'll be Bruno to a Saka or a Havertz. Isaac options, João Pedro, if he ends up being fit. Mateta, again, at home to Villa. Villa have nothing to play for. They're on the beach. As I said before, they've had their reward ceremony already. Their season's done. They've achieved more than they probably dreamt of achieving. And so we can see Palace scoring a few goals there. And then he also said Darwin. Again, I spoke a little minute ago about Darwin, Gakpo, and and Liverpool options, and I'm just not convinced enough that Darwin's going to start. Gakpo seems to be starting, and he started Liverpool's last game against Villa, and he got a goal. So why would Klopp therefore bench him and start Darwin? I don't think that makes a lot of sense from Klopp's point of view. So yeah, I think Pedro, and I'm a big fan of Mateta. He's absolutely storming it at the minute. If he doesn't do that and he decides, you know what, I'm going to keep Isaac, I'm getting rid of one of the Tottenham defenders in Paro or Van der Vet. Can't get us Mickey. I'm going to call him Mickey Van der Ven, should I say? He's then looking to bring in either Gvardiol. Now the issue with that is it then forces his second transfer to be somebody like Edison out. Now Edison might be injured, but he didn't seem happy to be subbed against Tottenham, so I think he felt it was okay to carry on, which would probably make me think he'll probably be fine for the weekend. Or we'd have to get rid of a Haaland and a Foden, which I just don't see why you do that. So I think it'll likely be a Paro or a Van der Ven for Ben White. Play for the double Arsenal clean sheets. Everton have nothing to play for. Tottenham are the best. Arsenal even. Arsenal are the best defence in the league. Can very easily keep a clean sheet in that game. So yeah, I think if you put the pressure on Matt now and you said to Matt, look, tell me who your two transfers are going to be, it'd be Bruno to Saka, and it'd be Porro or Van der Ven. I don't know how budget works, to Ben White. I think that would probably be the two free transfers. I think it's a solid team. You know, for those that are listening, Edison at home to West Ham, Gabriel at home to Everton. Let's just say, for the sake of this, Pedro Porro away at Sheffield United, Ben White at home to Everton as well. Solid, absolutely solid midfield. You'd have Palmer at home to Bournemouth, Foden at home to West Ham, Son away at Sheffield United, and then a Saka who would be playing at home to Everton. And then up front, likelihood, Captain Haaland at home to West Ham, Jackson at home to Bournemouth, and Isaac away at Brentford. Absolutely solid. So going into the last game week, no points hit. So yeah, I think that's where Matt is at. Looking at mine, we are very similar, if I'm honest. Like in terms of that front eight, they're exactly the same. I managed to get myself into a position, despite the fact I wasn't able to bench boost in 30 wildcard, should I say, in game week 35. Managed to get myself in a position where I've got those key players for the double game weeks, which has worked well for me, even with a couple of points hits. It's worked out when I've done those hits. I think my pick, I've only got one free transfer and £0.2 million in the bank. I think my pick's quite obvious. I want to sell Bruno because I think everybody else I've got on my team, I'm pretty happy with starting. So just to run through it for everybody that might be listening, I've got Rayo and Gabriel at home to Everton, Pedro Porro at Sheffield United, Gvardiol at home to West Ham. There was worry about Gvardiol's minutes, but he's playing exceptionally well. It's the last game for City. I appreciate they've got the FA Cup, but in terms of winning the league, which, let's be honest, you said to Pep, do you want to win the league or do you want to win the FA Cup? He's picking the league. Be a 4 in a row, first team that's ever done it. I'm pretty confident Gvardiol's going to play. I've then got Son, Palmer, Foden, Fernandes across the midfield, Isaac, Jackson, and Haaland up front, and Gordon on the bench. Not a bad first bench player at all. Petrovic on the bench from a keeper point of view. Again, not a bad pick when he's at home to Bournemouth. I think the obvious pick for me is Bruno out. Now, I can only, if I want to go to an Arsenal player, which I think is what I want to do, the only one that I can afford is Havertz. Now, I spoke before about Havertz in terms of his expected data against Saka. And just to recap that, over the last 7 game weeks, Saka's expected points have been 49.95. Havertz has been 48.74. So just less than a point less. But I can afford him without a -4. If I want to bring Saka in, I've got to take a -4. Now, based on that recent data, wouldn't be worth it. Havertz is the better pick. But if I did really want to push it and go for Saka, get the penalty taker in, if we have he's fit, then I can do Bruno to Saka. And Ain't Nori I could sell for a £4.3 million defender. Like Ain't Nori's sat on my bench. So it doesn't really make much of a difference to me whether I sell him or I don't, because he's not going to touch wood unless something goes drastically wrong. He isn't going to be starting for me. So I can get rid of him, bring in a bench fodder player, and it would allow me to get to Saka. But do I think Saka's going to score 4 points more than Havertz? Quite easily, he could, but I'm not confident enough to take the -4. So I think the obvious pick for me is don't take the hit, do Bruno to Havertz. And yeah, based on the data when I spoke through the captaincy options, I think Haaland's the obvious. I'm not chasing in my leagues per se. I'm just trying to chase overall rank. But Matt's always taught me to play safe. Havertz is the safe option. So yeah, I think I'll just leave it on Havertz. Palmer seems to be the best vice captain, even if I do bring in Havertz. Seems to be the better vice option. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that'll be the team I'll play. Apart from Bruno, will become Havertz. I'll get my 3 Arsenal players. I'll have my 3 City players. They're teams that are playing for the league. I'll have 2 Chelsea players playing for Europe. I'll have Isaac playing for Europe. I'll have the Tottenham players as well who aren't guaranteed Europa League, so they'll be playing for something as well. So the 11 players that I'm going to start are for teams that have something to play for, and I think that is key this game week. I think that is key. Game week 38 can be an absolute mess, especially for teams that have got nothing to play for. They just bring in players randomly and bench players that have played every single game week for the season. But yeah, I'm going to have 11 players playing for teams that have something to play for, so much more likely to get a start. So yeah, that's where my head is at for my team. And that brings us to an end. So that is the end of episode 42, but that is also the end of the game weeks in terms of looking at people that are playing and so on and so forth. As I say, Matt will be back with me next week to talk through our overall seasons, see where we finished, have a look at our key highlights, have a look at the best players we've had, have a look at maybe some of the flops we've had as well throughout the game week, and maybe mistakes that we can learn from going into the 2024-2025 season. But wow, how quick has that season gone? We're at the end already. 1 game week to go. That's the season ended. From an FPL perspective, me and Matt have spoke about it, and I'm sure we'll talk about it next week as well. We don't really see ourselves doing the Euro Fantasy Premier League. But yeah, next week we will touch on something else that we're going to do. We'll be bringing on a gentleman called James. Again, we'll let James talk about what he's doing, but he's designed a product which helps you, like, basically, if you do something with your friends where you predict how the league's going to look and you predict who's going to win the groups in the Euros and who's going to win the quarterfinals and get all the way to the final, and you kind of map it out with your friends. He has developed an app that will allow you to do that not only with your friends but on a global scale. And we're going to get James on for that, just to talk through it, really. And I think me and Matt will have a little go at it, and no doubt whoever have a little go over for the Euros, and no doubt whoever doesn't win again will. And I'll regret this because I've already lost in terms of Matt versus Dave, but we will do a forfeit for the loser there as well. But yeah, just a last thing to say is just a big thank you for you, the listener, for joining. Hopefully you've learned something from us. If you have, like, subscribe, all that jazz. But genuinely, over the last three episodes, it's become a bit surreal. 3 episodes ago, we had nearly 1,700 people view the episode in game week 35, and then in game week 37, we had 1,300 for join the episode. So like insane numbers for us. So yeah, it's a bit, as I said, it's a little bit surreal. So look, if you're new to us, if you've been here from the start, thank you. Genuinely, a genuine thank you from both me and I know Matt. I think he's not here to say it himself, but I know Matt will be very thankful as well. We do this because we enjoy doing it. We do it because we chat fantasy football every week anyway, and we thought, what, let's just put a camera up, see if anybody can learn anything from us at the same time. And yeah, it does make it worthwhile. It makes it worth doing this. So genuinely, like, I know a lot of channels say it, but we do mean it. If you have joined us, this might be episode 1 for you. This might be episode 42 for you if you've been with us from the start. Wherever you joined us on this journey, whether you're going to stick with us or not, appreciate your time. there's a lot to choose from. But thank you for being with us. And despite this being the last one in terms of previewing a game week, it is not the last of the season. I will be back next week with Matt. Look out for us then. But in the meantime, hopefully Matt's Wi-Fi has been fixed. Fingers crossed, and he's back online and ready to review the season. But until then, may your arrows be green. Appreciate you and your time. Thank you so much. And we will catch you next week when we review the season. Hopefully, you've ended somewhere beyond where you want to go, but at least where you're aiming for. And yeah, we will catch up with you next week. Until then, all the very best.